Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron. Thank you all for joining us here. I am joined in the flesh by Mr. Ryan Nelson, founder of Alchemy Wealth Management, published author, overall just a really accomplished fellow here, and proud to share the room with him. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
You know, I cannot complain, man. Cannot complain. It's a good day to get some financial literacy out there, if I do say so myself. So
absolutely.
Let's go ahead and dive right into it here. You ready, Ryan?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to paint a scenario here for you. So, I've been hearing a little bit about it. I say a little bit, and that's kind of why we're talking about it, because I don't dive too much. I'm always just like, I'll save this one for Ryan. So,
sure.
I've been hearing about a new tax law that might have changed some things when it comes to like Roth conversions. And I'm not even sure. We did a couple episodes on Roth conversions previously here. And so I was hoping I heard this and I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe we could talk about this and see, what's changed. So we've been doing this podcast since I want to say 2023, maybe 2024, 2023, I think, the end of that. So,
yep.
What's changed over the kind of the years here with, and as we get older, tax laws change. That's just kind of how the nature of the beast goes. So I'm curious with, where we're at now, at least at the time of this recording, like, does a Roth conversion still make sense? Is it possible? Maybe give a little breakdown there for us here.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I've been hearing a little bit about, and I think you alluded to there, was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was proposed back in 2017, I think it was, and it reduced basically the taxes that we pay, and then the taxes were intended to go back up. So there was just this like 8-year period or something like that where the taxes were intended to be a little bit lower, right? And so a lot of people were quick to try to do Roth conversions during this time where, hey, we have this artificially low period of time where taxes might be lower. Should we do all these Roth conversions, pay as much in taxes as we can now at these lower rates so we don't have to pay them when the rates start going back up in the future, right? And so a common question I get or hear is, and I guess a little more context, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was then, again, supposed to sunset and the rates were supposed to go back to where they were at. Semi-recently, it got extended indefinitely. Oh, wow. So now the tax rates will continue to stay low. And so now the question I think that I get all the time is like, hey, do Roth conversions still make sense? If tax rates are going to theoretically stay low forever, will they do these Roth conversions still make sense? And so,
sure.
And so I think that, I think first and foremost, as this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act got extended and the lower rates got extended, I should say, that did nothing really to like any Roth conversion law. So Roth conversions are 100% still allowed. And as a quick refresher, a Roth conversion is basically when you pay taxes on your money earlier than you necessarily had to. So it's when you convert money from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, you elect to pay your taxes now to avoid paying taxes later on. That's like effectively what a Roth conversion is. And so the idea would be that, yeah, your money then in the Roth, you can spend it all tax-free in the future.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, one analogy I like there is like, it's almost like you're paying taxes on the seed, not the harvest, right? So you have the seed of this investment. You can pay taxes on that now, convert it to Roth, and then you get all the gains tax-free, or you can wait, let your traditional IRA grow, and then you could pay the taxes on the entire harvest down the road. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a heck of an analogy. I can't believe. Did you just learn that? Because I was like, I don't know if you haven't shared that with me before. I always love these when you share these little nuggets, like
sure.
The spreadsheet answer versus the real world answer. I use that all the time. Now I'm going to be like, cool. Like this is an investment. We're paying the tax on the seed, not the harvest. So like that's awesime to kind of think about.
I always tell clients I got all these analogies. Most of them aren't any good, but but I do have analogies.
If you get a sheer quantity enough, like you'll have a winner in there somewhere. somewhere.
Yeah,
That's kind of my
exactly.
go-to. So awesome, Ryan. I appreciate that. Now, just kind of backing up a second here, like, so what did this the tax law actually like change? Does it affect certain people like with this, or is it kind of just like business as usual? If you've been doing it before, continue to do it. Like, how would you kind of, I guess, clarify that?
Yeah, so the good news is conversions are still fully allowed. There's no income limits or anything, so really no effects to conversions themselves. The new law did make the lower tax rates that we've been experiencing over the last 8 years, it made them, put in air quotes here, permanent, right? Mm-hmm. And I always like to say with these tax laws, it's only permanent until it gets changed, right? And so who knows what the next legislation might do and increase them, decrease them, who knows? But so they're quote unquote permanent. And really, there was supposed to be this period of time where rates were going to jump back up or sunset, and that has been postponed again indefinitely, again making the currently lower rates permanent. They added a few deductions, so there's like a senior deduction. It phases out for some higher income earners, but overall, if you were to look at today's tax rates historically, overall, they're still pretty historically low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to put it there. So I guess a two-part question. I'll ask the first one here of like, if the rates are paused or if they're indefinitely not going up as far as that goes, like, yeah, and you kind of covered it. Like, why would I guess with the seed and the harvest? Now I'm thinking about this. You kind of already covered this one here, but like, why would you convert at all? I guess like, what would be kind of the winning strategy there when it comes to it?
Right, and so you're thinking about it the right way, because if you really, the idea with these Roth conversions is you want to convert at a lower tax rate,
right?
And you want to pay your taxes at the lowest tax rate. So if you think you're going to be in the same tax bracket today as in the future, the conversion doesn't make a ton of sense. There's a couple of things to think about though, is just because like the federal tax rates aren't necessarily going back up, your own personal tax rate could still move up.
Right.
So as you start thinking about it, a lot of people who did a good job of saving inside of like 401ks and IRAs, they'll have what are called required minimum distributions later. And when they start receiving those required minimum distributions, their own personal tax rate might jump. So when you start looking at it high level, you might say, oh, okay, well, yeah, the federal tax rate may not be increasing, but my own personal tax rate might be increasing. So it might make sense for me to pay my taxes now, do the Roth conversion, and avoid taxes later in life when my own personal tax rate would be higher. There's another, and then there's also the thought I always have about like, that's why I said these rates are quote unquote permanent, right? Yeah. Like, again, like what does permanent mean? Like the next legislation can change it. And so the reality is, if we look historically, like we understand our rates are historically low right now, what's going to happen over the next 10, 20, 30 years? Nobody knows. Certainly nobody knows at all, but it's also theoretically possible that maybe tax rates will go back up over time, right? And so even if you think your tax rate is going to be the same now as it is 5 years from now, well, okay, cool. Then it doesn't really matter if you do a Roth conversion or not. But you could hedge your risk, maybe do a Roth conversion now, and then if tax rates do go up in the future, you say, cool, no worries. Yeah. I already paid my taxes, right? So it's a little hedge. It's an interesting way to hedge some of that risk away about what if tax rates do go up in the future if due to some theoretical potential legislation down the road that we can't foresee now at this point in time.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of thinking about the future, but you're also like, it's an interesting combination of like the future versus now, and kind of combining those kind of two of like, cool, where am I at now? What do I think I'm going to be at in the future? And, is my tax rate going to be higher in the future, depending on your age and such too? And that kind of, I guess, feeds into the next question of when is the best time to think about doing these? Like, is it a young person, an old person? Like, what would you kind of, obviously it's probably going to depend as I say this, but for sure. What would you say, like, as far as that goes?
Yeah. So exactly. We've ran into scenarios where sometimes it makes sense for a young person, sometimes for an older person, right? There's all sorts of one-off scenarios, but in general, an often used planning window is what we call the golden years, which would be between retirement and when RMD starts. So oftentimes that gap between retirement and RMDs, which are typically going to be started at age 73, I think we did episode 21 talks a little bit more about RMDs, or required minimum distributions. But during that window of time, oftentimes people's taxable income is a little bit lower, which can make sense and make these Roth conversions a valuable time to execute.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. The golden years, if you will, there. I like that. Yeah,
exactly. Or the golden decade.
The golden decade, sure. Yeah. Are there any other, I guess, catches you should look out for when it comes to these kind of things? Like, that's maybe a loaded question. There's always probably depends on your situation, but I'm curious if you have any, specific ones that we should be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I mean, I run into all the time somebody who learns about Roth conversions, they get really excited and they go start executing Roth conversions, which are good, right? But there are some sort of pitfalls that people run into. And really, if you're going to be doing a Roth conversion, you don't want to use the converted funds themselves to pay for the tax implications. So you'd want to be using some outside money, like in a brokerage account or in your checking or savings account, to pay for this tax implication. So in an ideal world, you do this Roth conversion, use sort of money outside of the IRA to pay the taxes. So sometimes I'll see somebody use the funds themselves to pay the taxes, and it's just not the most efficient way to do a Roth conversion. Or they'll convert they won't understand all the implications of a Roth conversion. So for instance, there's something called income. It's an acronym that stands for income related monthly adjustment amount. And basically it has to do with Medicare. And, I always say that like Medicare is the same for everybody, but how much you pay for Medicare is not the same. So how much you pay for Medicare is dependent on how much taxable income you have.
Okay.
So if you go do this big Roth conversion, it artificially increases your taxable income, which can then trigger some of these IRMA thresholds and make you pay a little bit more for the same Medicare that you would have received otherwise. So you just want to be careful when you're doing these Roth conversions that you know where these IRMA thresholds are and making sure you're not unintentionally triggering one. It can still make sense to intentionally trigger an IRMA threshold when doing a Roth conversion, but these are just things that people don't necessarily know on the front end. They do these big Roth conversions and then they're just left sort of dealing with the repercussions afterwards. So sometimes people will just get super excited. They'll say, "Oh yeah, this makes a ton of sense." Maybe they'll hear something like, "Oh yeah, I want to pay taxes on the seed, not the harvest," right? So they say, "Well, shoot, I have $1 million in my 401k. Like this is a big seed. Let me go convert it, pay the taxes on this $1 million, and then I won't have to pay taxes when it grows to $2 or $3 million, right?" And so they get eager, they go convert the whole thing, and it's like, wow, well, that conversion is going to jump you into probably the highest IRMA threshold, so you're paying way more for Medicare. Also, that conversion itself is going to jump you into larger federal tax brackets. So you're actually going to be paying more taxes on the money.
Right.
And maybe you would have paid more taxes on the money doing the Roth conversion than if you had just waited and took it out in retirement. So yeah, certainly I'd say like anything, there's pros and cons, and there's certainly some things to be aware of and cautious of and keep your eyes and ears open.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well said. And that's immediately kind of what I was thinking too. I was like, oh, if I have, just for simple math, if I have, $1 million and I'm like, cool, I'm just going to convert this right now. Awesome. Like, and I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm hypothetically in a 20% tax bracket, it's like, obviously we'd learn how the tax system works. It's not always 20%, but like if you're like, hey, cool, I'm going to pay an average of 20% on this. Do I have $200,000 like laying around to pay those taxes? I don't know if I have that right now, or if that makes sense to do that now versus later. So a lot of different factors there that probably, hopefully you're, there's that big new shiny tool or, car that people see a lot of times. So like, I'm guilty of it too. If I hear something or I read something, I'm like, this is too good to be. I got to get what is going on here, kind of piece of it.
Exactly. So
like think about it, sit down with a financial advisor, kind of determine like what works best for you as far as like, like you mentioned, minimizing the amount of taxes you're going to have to pay in order to still like, retire and live your lifestyle as you want to do it, I think are the most important things. And hopefully, your CPA can figure that out with you and your financial advisor and such too. So
yeah,
100%. Awesome. Ryan, we kind of wrap up here. You have any final thoughts on this one here?
Yeah. So Roth conversions are still alive and well for a lot of people. Really, during that window between retirement and when they start taking RMDs is a really good time to really seriously start considering some Roth conversions. And yeah, working with your financial advisor and CPA team can help determine if they make sense for you and how much to convert.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for breaking it down. And if you guys want to go back out and check out those other episodes we've done on this, please do so. All those are available. And hopefully you guys have learned something today like I have. So everybody take a break here. We'll be right back on the other side of this with some personal stuff.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
Welcome back, everybody, to this side of the Fiscal Physical podcast. I'm still Aaron. I'm still here with Ryan, and we're going to get into some the personal segment today. So, Ryan, first off, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So, what's a long game, quote unquote, you're playing in your life right now where the payoff is years away?
Yeah, this makes me think of last week when you talked about the investing in your car's maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I could probably use the same answer again.
Yeah.
But, we really see who listens to this podcast week over week.
Exactly. But yeah, I think that kind of the two that come to mind for me are like my business and my own health. So like from a health standpoint, I'm a big believer in longevity. I've brought up Peter Attia, I don't know how many episodes, quite a few, I think, in these personal sections. But I believe in like having these small habits that can compound over time. And so, doing like if I take a particular vitamin today, is that really going to affect my life today? Probably not. Will it do something for me and compound for me over the next 50 years? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Hopefully,
sure.
Right?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, like I recently got a reverse osmosis water filter for my drinking water, and I, for the most part, like I'm not picky. I'll drink tap water. I'll drink any kind of water. I can't really taste the difference. Like I'm not very picky about that stuff, but also at the same time, I'm like, man, if I could just make one tiny small habit that compounds, so I drink a lot of water every day, if all that water every day had just slightly less contaminants or slightly less microplastics or just was slightly better for me, any one glass of water probably doesn't affect my health at all.
Sure.
But does a gallon a day, 7 days a week, 30 weeks or 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year, 10 years a decade for the next 50 years.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah. Then does minimizing the amount of microplastic in that matter? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but it's a really small habit. It doesn't really change my lifestyle at all. And so I'm a big believer in those kind of small micro habits compounded over a 30, 40, 50 year window. So I'd say, yeah, I think as far as like the long game, I'd say those types of, I'm big on those types of habits and activities. And I try to get out and like move every day. So working out and do something active.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I think that those are great answers there for sure. And it's all about, I'm a big proponent of like, if you can find those little things that really you just kind of set it and forget it.
Yeah.
Like, but it could potentially, cool. Do I take a handful of vitamins in the morning? Like, how long does that take me to do that? Like, 3 seconds in the morning. Yes, I got to buy them like every month, but we have the ability to have them delivered right to my door.
Sure.
Like at this point too. So I think those are big things too. So two pieces. One, the health aspect of it for sure. Like I think getting out and being at least somewhat active every day. It's a very small thing, and you think about it, but it sometimes life gets in the way, like, especially if you have stuff going on. But just even going for like a nice walk every day. You just getting out there and moving your body, I think, is just a huge piece that I think can, I work at a desk job normally, so I'm sitting and I find myself, if I'm really into something, I'll be sitting there for hours and I'm like, whoa, okay, maybe I should stand up a little bit and walk around kind of piece of it. So, getting out, I also a big proponent of fresh air too.
Sure.
I think going out and like nothing like re-energizes me like during like a nice like Reno summer, like walking, just getting outside, feeling the sunshine. I think that always, there's the saying like, touch grass. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like you go out there and I take my shoes off and I'm like, oh, nice. All right. I don't know if that did anything for me, but it sure made me feel better right now. Kind of aspect of it. So that piece of it. And then the other one, I guess I'm playing a really long game. I got a 2.5-year-old kid as well. So, putting some investment into, his future and these certain kind of things that I don't know how much payoff I'm going to get out of that, but I'm hoping to invest in that and have it pay off in some regard, whether it be for him or for me or for my wife or for the family, something like that. So one day he can hopefully, create something and I can just retire.
Yeah. Exactly.
Whatever it is. So
he'll fly you to all his NFL games or soccer games.
Now we're talking. Something like that, to be able to sit first class somewhere would be pretty cool.
There you go. I love it.
That. So, a couple of different long games, if you will, that we're playing in kind of different mentalities, but they kind of overlap in some format too. So awesome, Ryan. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate the time today, and hopefully everybody learned some good stuff today on the old Roth conversions, and then got to know us a little bit as well on the personal level. So I'll leave it up to you, Ryan, to play us out today.
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode. And consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.